let's move on. The next speaker, I'm going to invite Senator Black to come up and say a few words.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Senator Dick Black, and I'm from Loudoun County. And one of the interesting things about my background is that when I was first elected to the House of Delegates 20 years ago, I flipped the House to Republican for the first time since Reconstruction, when they were sailing ships with bales of cotton up and down the coast of Virginia. And then when I was elected to the Senate, I flipped the Senate to Republican control. So I dare to say but we are within 36 days of the election now. And I see Gary Higgins, who he is my designated successor, a great Republican. I'm retiring from the Senate after this election, but Gary will be a great replacement, and I encourage you all to give him all the support that you possibly can. So, 36 days out, we are going to have a close election in Virginia. Part of the reason is, you know, the Democrats they're always hooting and wailing about gerrymandering. Well, the Republicans are gerrymandering. Well, the fact is that during the last redistricting, the Republicans designed the lines for the House, the Democrats designed the lines for the Senate, and then the governor set the lines for the congressional offices. I lived in what is popularly known as the Dick Black Memorial District, and what happened is they did not want me to run. And so what they did is they created a weird Democrat district. It has 26 precincts in Arlington County, and then it runs a strip of land across the Potomac through Fairfax County, and lo and behold, it picks up a little neighborhood where Dick Black used to live. And they did that just solely to keep me from running. They made me part of Arlington County, which is, you know, umpteen miles away from Loudoun County. So it is a myth to think that somehow Democrats or federal courts are free from political bias. Because we saw where the feds moved in and they decided to do a redistricting of the House. And what did you get out of it? You got a gerrymander. It was a court-ordered gerrymander, which has put us in a position where it will be much more difficult to hold on to the House of Delegates. So it's going to be a close election. We've got the Senate just hanging by, you know, probably one vote one way or the other. And we've got the House of Delegates hanging by one or two votes. Literally, the control of the House was determined by the flip of a coin the last time. You think of that, the flip of a coin. So for those of you who have friends and relatives who say, oh, my vote's not going to count, you would be amazed. You would be amazed how frequently you have elections decided by a couple of votes. I always think about the town of Leesburg, largest town, I think, in Virginia. And the election was decided by 5 votes. 5 votes. And then we had a supervisor election, which was a little bit funny because the guy who was running for supervisor on the Republican ticket made a mistake. He didn't bother to vote for himself. And he lost by 1 vote. 1 vote. So don't let anybody tell you. You look at what happened when George Bush and Al Gore were going head-to-head. It was all decided in Florida, and it was just a razor-thin majority. And you're talking about out of a nation of 330 million people. So never imagine that your vote does not count. It really does. Now, the Democrats they're a little bit adrift. There's a sense of sort of desperation to find a direction, figure out how do we attack this thing. And so the latest thing that they've come up with is that, well, we're going to impeach the president. And we'll do that. That's going to be our latest thing. Now, I read through the transcript. It was very fortunate the president released the transcript of his conversation with Mr. Zelensky of Ukraine. Zelensky had just been elected on an anti-corruption campaign, and so the president spoke to him probably 3 or 4 minutes. It was basically congratulations, great job, glad things went well. If you want to come to Washington, D.C., give us a call. We'd love to host you. But in between, there were a couple of mentions of Joe Biden. Now, you have heard characterizations of those. I want to read you the words spoken by our president that they're making this huge hoopla about. Because fortunately, I had read about this thing early on. He said 2 things, and here's the first one. He said, you know, there's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution. A lot of people want to find out about that. So whatever you can do with the Attorney General will be great. Biden went around bragging that he stopped the prosecution. So if you can look into it, so it sounds horrible to me. Does that sound outrageous? Incredible? Okay, that's about 90% of what he said. Here's the second one. He said, I heard the prosecutor was treated very badly, and it was a very fair prosecutor. So good luck with everything. Now, you have heard 100% of the evidence in support of impeaching the President of the United States. You talk about a nothing burger. There is nothing there. Now, fortunately, I had read this transcript before I listened to the opening segment of the House Intelligence Committee, led by Adam Schiff. This is amazing. Adam Schiff totally fabricated a statement that he attributed to the president. It was utter lies. There was not one word of it that was true. And he has apologized since then. Well, thank you very much. But to somebody tuning in, it sounded like the president had said outrageous things. Here's what Adam Schiff, the liar, said when he first gave his introductory remarks. And he made it sound like the president had really said these things. And so he quotes the president falsely, and he said, I'm only going to say this 7 times, so you better listen good. I want you to dig up dirt on my political opponent. Understand? Lots of it. And that's that. None of that was said. The president didn't say any of that. He didn't use any of that tone. It was just a very pleasant conversation. Now, is there a scandal? Yes, there is a scandal about Joe Biden, whose son, Hunter Biden, just after he was thrown out of the Navy for using cocaine, he went over to Ukraine, and when he was in the Ukraine, He was paid $600,000 to sit on the board of a gas and oil company. He had no background whatsoever in gas and oil. And then the prosecutor started to investigate him. And Joe Biden, our good vice president, went over and he said, if you don't fire that prosecutor, who's looking into my son, he didn't say those words, but that's what he meant. If you don't fire that prosecutor, you are not getting $1.2 billion. That was what Vice President Biden did. And you talk about mammoth corruption, that was it. So in any event, that's where we stand. But I would tell you, the Democrats is very much, we had the blue wave, and the blue wave was very much like a big wave that smashes to the shore, and it rolls up the beach, and then it comes back and it's nothing but foam and bubbles and things. And that's where we are. The blue wave is gone, and the key is going to be for us to make sure that we get our folks out there. We definitely need that. The blue wave brought in some of the poorest candidates on the face of the earth. And anybody who's dealt with them knows we have a known communist. And we have some very odd people. I won't go into detail. Some very odd people who have very odd practices. But socialism is taking a grip. It's very strong in that party. They want to take away guns. They want to take all guns away. They want to go into your house and they want to search your home for guns and confiscate them. Governor Northam said, if you have a baby who is fortunate enough to survive an abortion attempt, we'll just put that child aside, we'll keep it comfortable, and we'll have a discussion about what to do. What he's talking about it has nothing to do with abortion law. This is a conspiracy to commit premeditated murder. And we have a governor of the state of Virginia who is willing to propose conspiracy to commit premeditated murder. And it outraged people, and the only thing that saved him from that outrage is then he had another one, and he's there standing posing for a picture with a Ku Klux Klansman. We've got all kinds of things. One of the things about the taxes is that the Democrats have said we want to have a basic income for everybody, and then they said we want basic income even for people who refuse to work. Not people who are unable to work, not people who are disabled. We want basic income for people who refuse to work. Well, good luck with that. So you're going to tax people on Social Security, people who are making minimum wage, so that some troll who refuses to work can get money, and that's very poor. In any event, they're also saying they want to decriminalize crossing the border so that we just simply open the border to anybody that wants to come in. I will tell you their policies are just absolutely disastrous. And so I urge you to get out. I urge you to vote. I urge you to get your friends to go and vote and let them know if we don't resist socialism, if we don't resist tyranny, it isn't going to just happen, because freedom is not the natural course of events. Tyranny is the natural course of events. So God bless you all. We're going to have a great election, and do everything that you can. I give an extra $5,000 to Gary this week, and I urge all of you to do likewise.